You'll be safe and sound, safe from the blight, priest of just fighting strongest desire. No breath to catch, no tears to dry. The shadows our game is started. Don't you deny this pleasure in life. How this over that you prize. You skylight in time. The guidance of the betrayal. Devil will with little fortune. Scarlet my eyes.
Okay. How's audio, everyone? How's audio? Is my mic peaking at all? Is the music like loud enough for you to hear but not loud enough to overpower my voice? How's everything? Awesome. A hi, Moshi. We're in. Okay, audio's go. Okay, thank goodness. Great. Lovely. Look at this. Look at this little guy. Look at this little guy. Isn't this little guy so nice? Isn't such a nice little guy? My oomph. Anne drew this for me. Honestly, I kind of want to tip her because I paid $6 for this and I feel like that's way too little. I might tip her later. This is such a cute little guy, I know, right? Check out and Mocha Maid on Twitter. I will type her at here. Is that in ignore that. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what no. No. I already did all the stages, so you won't see me actually play the game. Oh shit. Oh. Okay, I'll read all the dialogue that doesn't have voice. Fuck! No, don't skip on me! No! Damn it. Search for who's flickering the fireworks and the stars. This is probably sung to the melody, but I'm not doing all that.
Oh, you're finally awake.
Wonder who could this be? Who could this be? We still don't have an answer. Yeah, there's voice acting, except for like inner thoughts and Chief's face, Chief's voice, and some irrelevant NPCs won't give voices. Chief doesn't have a voice, and any internal thoughts won't have voice acting. But most of the other characters will have voice acting. Will I do voices? Depends on my mood. I will read. I will try to do dramatic reading, but voice acting, I don't know.
Remember these? Fate is so cruel.
We still don't know what the fuck this means, by the way.
As long as you still remember who you are, you won't lose everything. Come back to me.
We still only have a very vague idea of what Chief is.
I will wait for you.
I suppose if we did, that would be all the major answers.
Level 1 alert. Unknown sinner invading. Unknown sinner
Oh. Wait, let me center. No, don't move this around. Let me center this a little bit better. Okay, that's better. I'm here to learn. Hi, Jesterfly. And that's another bot. Get out of my house, please. Thank you. Hi, Jesterfly. I'm so happy you're here because I think you would like this too. Like zero info about what PC isn't about us all.
I've been waiting for you this whole
Oh wow, when I first got into this, the intro did not look like that.
Did you have a nightmare? Tell me, what did you dream about?
Don't listen to her! This is an attack target!
Poor Chief, she has no fucking clue what's happening right now. She woke up from a pod delirious.
Don't leave the repair pod. If you don't complete the repair program, your mind will be...
That's rough, buddy. I'm in violent tremors, the man's face and fuck!
I don't like
Can we wait? Can we give me a minute, please?
Great. Now stand up. We've got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Stay away from her.
The bullets keep coming ceaselessly, with a few grunts the moment before you collapse onto... Oh, before she even... A rapid series of footsteps soon burst into the room. Wish that were me! I'm sorry who said that!
Don't stop shooting.
Many such
Keep them under
cases.
control.
It's animated! It didn't used to be animated when I first read this.
Can you hear me? Hold on. I'll get you out soon.
Hi, Nightingale.
Deputy Chief, watch out!
Overuse, but oh no, I keep...
Not dead yet?
Okay.
Protect Chief.
It's locked automatic, unfortunately. I can't have it wait for me to read. I guess I won't be reading the intro. You struggle to get up, but a hand presses your back into the icy liquid. The woman who should have been dead props herself up. She slowly approaches you with a foul smell of blood, trapping you in a narrow space. Oh my god. She moves out. Jeez. Hi, Alexis, Syra, welcome. Got her just in time. Yes, that was my username. I wish they let you use an actual name for in story stuff because it's so weird. It's so fucking weird to read my in-game username when Chief is supposed to be called. Also, I don't like inserting myself as Chief. I don't like it. I like Chief as a separate character. That's not me.
Where are you going? It's not over.
And they're not written like a self-insert either. Like there's hints of it, but no. It doesn't work with Chief, I think.
I won't give up easily.
Yeah, it takes you out every fucking time. I have a ship name as my username. What do you want? The woman brushes your cheek with her hand. Her nails scratch your skin, leaving a sting. She presses down on the wound.
I can't take you away now, in this case.
Uh-huh.
This body, you can just give it to me.
Phrasing. She licks her finger and slowly gets up. We still don't know where the fuck this woman went. It's a terrifying smile on her face gradually blurs. Even her body begins to distort and deform and eventually turns into yours.
Goodbye.
Stop, don't call me that. Please just call me G. She sits on the raised platform and leaves unhurriedly, with your face still on her. A woman in uniform appears within your sight. She carefully holds you up and puts a coat on you.
Sorry I'm late. Are you hurt?
Oh, she sounds so much more stern here. She softens up a lot over the course of the story, huh? Who are you?
I am Nightingale.
Hi, Nightingale.
Your adjutant. The consciousness repair program got disrupted, so your memory is severely damaged. You must be very confused right now.
Hi, Eradicator 36. Is this some Yuri visual novel? Yeah, it's a gacha game, so yes and no. There certainly are a lot of Yuri moments in this. But it's a gacha game. Oh shit. That doesn't market itself as a Yuri necessarily. Interesting. Yeah, I would say it's Yuri adjacent. Women are the central focus, and there's a lot of interesting relationships between those women. And more so if you choose to play a female main character. Which I do, because I like my Yuri moments, and I don't like to self-insert.
The intruder stole your bio information just now. She will use this disguise to break through all security systems and cause an even larger riot.
Second gacha game to be banned off VNDB. Wait, are gacha games banned on VNDB? Because, like, I feel like that's fair, honestly.
You're in extreme danger. Time is running out. Please leave with me now.
Why target me?
It's because you are the top authority here. The new chief.
Limbus is on VNDB? Yeah, okay, yeah. The main character is the chief of the Minos Bureau of Crisis Control, MBCC.
Not a moment goes by without those rioters wanting you dead.
For a good reason, honestly. You are escorted by guards through the confined corridor under the glaring lights and alarms. A huge guarded area appears before your eyes.
Level 1 alert. Level 1 alert. Sinners escaped. Sinners escaped. Alert.
Here we go.
Here we go.
This is Minos Bureau of Crisis Control, the jail for the most vicious criminals. Every criminal here is a great threat to the world. And you, Chief, are supposed to be the
I don't think
strongest
that's true,
force.
Nightingale.
But now, an intruder has sparked off a riot. The prisoners are complete.
Hello from Russia. Hi. Should I call you Varu? The tempered glass in front of you suddenly exploded. Nightingale immediately protected you behind her and blocked the few people who bursted out.
Hey, isn't this Adjutant Nightingale? Don't tell me that guy behind you is new. Look at her dumb face. I bet she's still just a loser.
True.
Chief, stand back.
I didn't expect to be free again. I planned to just run away. But since you guys have taken such good care of me, how could I not repay you?
You have such a sexy voice. I appreciate it. I don't know how I feel about being called sexy, but I appreciate the compliment. Wait, give me a minute. Okay, I just had to put my Redeems menu on here. Great.
Kill her! We can only be truly free if that woman is dead!
Yay.
Chief, Adjutant, get behind me!
Oh shit, it's the guy. It's the guy. Alright, that's the first one. It's the first one, chat. Going on the second one. We're gonna meet Hecate. Hecate! No, 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 no! That's not what I wanted to do! Go away. Can we? I did not mean to click on that. Eliside, hi! Wow, a lot of first-time chatters today. So glad everyone is interested in Path to Nowhere. ACAB includes Chief. Yes, ACAB includes Chief. Everyone should kill Chief. I think we should kill Chief. Chief does a couple things that really frustrate me later on in the story. I still like this game. I like this. It has this moment that frustrates me, but I like this game overall, and I still think it's worth playing. Yes, this is my... Well, I feel like there's media much more problematic than this, but yeah, I guess so. Look, this is, I can't say slurs on the stream.
Today's show was just about to begin.
This is one of my favorite characters.
Where did we leave off last time?
She makes me angry, and I really like her, and I hate her. Okay, second one.
I'm on my way home. Almost home. You're in my way again. FAC is in my way again.
Started a few months ago, but I'm like at 5-1, so read along is really cool. Thank you. Wow, I'm glad. I haven't read chapter 15 yet, but I'm close to chapter 15. Wait, no, I have read chapter 15, but there's one of the Rustfire chapters that I haven't finished. So I'm glad I could help you progress through the story. It would make me happy if I could help people progress through the story. Also, why is it playing the main menu music? Okay, Blue Stat, Pathinor doesn't want to work with me here. This is not, I don't think this is meant to be the right track playing.
Careful, everyone. The most dangerous enemy is approaching.
There are 15 in total. Some of them are longer than others.
Since you came already, then let's chop you up together and take it home as a gift.
Yow! Yeah. Oh my god, it's my loser.
Then your time is over.
She's not one of my favorites, but I do like her. She's very funny.
Hey, NBCC trash. The Archer Queen of
She thinks she's so tough.
Get out of my way or eat my
She thinks she's so tough. Despite their best efforts to protect you, the guards were beaten back time and time again. Time and again.
Sinners are hard to hold off. We won't last long. Adjutant Nightingale, please act quickly.
Hi! Did my stream crash or did your Twitch crash? I hope my stream didn't crash. Oh, okay. Phew. Scared me for a second. Oh yeah, now you can use the lesbian glasses. Emote. Thanks for subscribing, Val. You really didn't have to. I have BTTV enabled. You can access my emotes for free anytime. You just can't access them on other channels because BTTV is a browser extension that evades emotes being locked for a specific channel you're on. Yeah, if anyone didn't know that already, you should install BTTV. You can. A lot of streamers probably have their emotes available on there, and you won't have to pay a cent. But thank you, I do appreciate it. I'm here to hype you up. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Force field recharge complete. Activating shield function. Don't even think about going near her, you maniac.
Hey, Nightingale, don't be mean.
Can you move, Chief? Quick, get out of here. That sinner can trigger EMP and will destroy this kind of trap in no time.
Adjutant Nightingale, take Chief away. You've got me here.
Thanks.
She turned around and pulled you into the secret passage. The surviving guards let out a final roar behind you, which is soon swallowed up by the thugs' maniacal laughter.
Die! Die! The world doesn't need
True. She dragged you out of the secret passage and past a hidden button on the side. The wall opens and an elevator door appears. The light indicates that it's approaching.
Get in, Chief. The elevator will take you to the hidden mezzanine. You'll be safe staying there. Don't leave until help arrives.
Also, in the earlier chapters, you can see a lot of like inconsistency between the voice acting, the spoken lines and the text lines, but they do solve this issue later on. But early chapters have this. At least it's not like Reverse 1999, where the translation is completely unreadable. I had to grit my teeth through the first few chapters in Reverse 1999 so I can like get to the chapters where the English isn't so bad. No, come with me, Nightingale.
I'll divert them.
Okay, bye, Nightingale. Nightingale reloads her guns as the shot of the approaching pursuers grow near. Her eyes and guns are trained ahead while the wound on her forehead continues to bleed. Isn't that sometimes the joy of bad translation, though? I mean, that's true. That is true. It is kind of funny. It's true, but it's annoying when you're trying to like actually appreciate the material that's being translated. But it is pretty funny. The bright red irritates your nerves and pokes at the unknown corners of your fractured memories.
Don't hesitate, Chief. Your life is most valuable. More so than everyone else here.
Okay. The enemies are here to kill you, and the persons in front of you may die to save you. They all call you Chief and say your life is valuable. If you really are that valuable, then there must be something I can do.
Look at her dumb face. I bet she's still just a loser.
True.
Kill her! We can only be truly free if that woman is dead!
You vaguely sense that these desires to kill you mask their fear of you. The prisoners fear something that has not yet awakened in you. You have the potential power to suppress them. Look at her dumb face!
Even under such circumstances? No way. You've only just woken up from the disrupted repair program. Your body is very weak and your memory is...
This is the decision I make as the Chief. Yeah, I like how her getting insulted leads to her having her alpha awakening moment. It's so funny.
Copy that. Since you've chosen to fight, it's my duty to assist you as
She's like, fuck that guy. She changed the command on the elevator, which changes the destination floor, and a red warning light suddenly flashes on the screen.
The Bureau can no longer hold on until reinforcement arrives. There's only one way to bring an end to this crisis.
Activate the shackles!
Chief, a forbidden power lies dormant in the depths of this cage. It's more dangerous and more powerful than any of our enemies. That's your power. Awaken it. I'm sure you can control it.
Ding! The elevator doors open while the riders appear from around the corner. Before their bullets reach you, Nightingale pushes you into the elevator. Hold on, don't die.
Go ahead.
Don't call me that. She doesn't respond directly. The moment the door closes, a powerful blast rocks the entire space. When you are conscious again, the elevator has stopped in the dark. The metal door helplessly opens and closes again. Beyond the door is a cell in dead silence. The bump on your head is throbbing with pain, but you have no time to waste. Trying to remember Nightingale's last instructions, you start to act. Was that the fucking violin from Hell's Kitchen? I don't know. But every time this track plays a lot, and every time the violin plays, it's like... It does stick in my mind.
The elevator will take you to the Bureau's real restricted area. Turn right after exiting the elevator. Get to the end of the 3rd corridor and go down 2 floors.
Chief, you are going to become a mother of 2. In the most fucked up way possible.
Prison guard. If you hear anyone, hide in the nearest cell under the blanket. That woman has removed all restraints, so the cell doors will be open. You want to get to the middle section of Area B3, where you will find the only prisoner who voluntarily stays in the cage. Find her. Her number is...
Frowning when I hear this line.
This way, ma'am.
No, that's not the one. But you should pick her up too.
Are you the new guard? I'm Hella.
Bro's name is Hella.
I'm not like those baddies. See?
Free her. Yes, free her.
Cause
Free
any
Hella.
trouble, nor did I try to escape.
Yeah, look, she's so nice. She's literally nice.
But I'm scared. Those baddies are so scary. They wanted to kill me. They said they would come back to kill me later.
Yeah, you should rescue her, Chief. She's literally nice. She's literally nice. They were putting anyone in jail. You'll see why that's the case.
Ma'am, can you let me out?
Isn't she the person you're looking for? You step back to survey the cell. No, you fucking dumbass. She said voluntarily stay in the cell. Does this look voluntary to you? But yeah, sure, release her. The lock on the cell door has clearly been damaged violently by a blunt object. The warning "Unlock failed" flashes on the smashed screen, and a bent steel pipe is hidden in the at the young girl's feet.
Those baddies smashed it. I didn't do it. Trust me, ma'am. Please let me out.
I trust you. I trust you, Hell. Oh.
Thank you so many times. Are you gonna let me out or not?
Yeah, yes, sweetie, I'll let you out. The young girl reveals her true fierce self. Her hand reaches out of the cell and yanks you by the collar towards her. She's incredibly strong, hitting you against the glass and trapping your neck from behind with the cold steel pipe. She's so literally nice, I'm saying. She's literally nice. Observing with great difficulty, you can see sparks splash onto her white arm and create a burn, which, however, heals immediately.
Don't go against me, little guard.
Little guard.
My power isn't to be messed with, and sinners aren't prisoners you can trap.
True.
I don't have time to play with you. Before I count to 5, open the door or I'll strangle you. 3, 2...
A shadow suddenly dashed out before your eyes, then Hella screams behind you, and the pipe fell to the ground with a clang.
You bastard!
Okay, sorry, someone entered the room. The cell door directly across from you two is wide open. The silent shadow creeps slowly, giving off an ominous aura. My baby! That's my baby! In the middle of the shadow sits a slim figure against the wall.
Come back.
Chief! You will hear her say, Chief! A lot. The shadow immediately leaves Hella, passes you, and returns to the young girl before merging with the darkness.
Chief, a forbidden power lies dormant in the depths of this jail. It's more dangerous and more powerful than our enemies.
Is she the forbidden power? S019?
That's me.
Sweetie.
Nightingale send you
You
here?
sound so sad all the time.
Are there new orders?
There wasn't a hint of emotion in her voice, as if you're conversing with it's as if you're conversing with a dark wall. I love the amount of callbacks within the same chapter. Oh yeah, you're right. It's almost Isosamium file level of callbacks. Nightingale said you could become my power.
I see. You're the new chief.
Oh, oops, you didn't branch the male chief, female chief dialogues properly here. Oopsies. The shadow at the young girl's feet shudders and wriggles forward. You soon hear the chilling, cracking sound behind you. Hella's scream halts even before it escapes her mouth.
Keep quiet, or it'll be your neck.
Jesus. You don't have the courage to turn around. You watch the young girl across the room stand up, leave the darkness along with flowing shadows at her feet, and walk towards you. When you notice it, the shadow has already wrapped around your limbs. The chills seep into your veins and into your bones. Yes. Let me out!
It hates when prey struggles.
Who are you?
Number S019, A-level sinner. My ability is the Curse of Nightmare.
I don't think this was made in Renpai. I don't think Renpai has 3D support.
Unlike those people outside, we...
Renpai when Senpai walks in. Shut up. Imagine if it was made in Renpai and we fucked up if it was in Renpai. We so fucked up. If Renpai was so good, why didn't they make Renpai 2? True.
And the person who binds and traps us with the shackles is the chief of this cage.
Who uprenting their pie? Who uprenting they pie?
Chief, have you found the shackles?
I'm about to. Once you almost kill me. He stares right into your eyes. The shadow has a grip on your throat. Its bone-chilling desire to kill irritates every single nerve in your body. The order from Nightingale is...
I don't need her order anymore.
She lifts your hand and presses it lightly against her collarbone. Then everything falls into darkness. Wow, this is so cool. I love shadow powers that are not stands at all. Totally. In the darkness, all you can see is this young girl. Sorry, in front of you. Under her icy gaze, a series of obscure words crawls into your body, crashing your head, screaming to tear your soul apart.
Stop it, or get killed. You know what to do.
That's your power. Awaken it. I'm sure you can control it.
Find your shackles and bind me. Follow your instincts. This is why you exist.
I'm sorry, Hecate. Your hand starts to move uncontrollably and strangles the girl's neck. A scorching pain follows while some crimson pattern surfaces on your skin. The scorching pattern spreads to the young girl's skin and then stretches greedily beyond, piercing through the darkness and spreading through the entire space. The CG reminds me of damn girl, eat your food like you're looking crazy for. I don't know how Shokuhaki is, but I believe you. The crimson pattern creeps up Hella and binds her entire body like burning shackles, making it impossible for her to break free. And the young girl who calls herself S019 stares intently into your eyes in the same spot. For a moment you have grabbed hold of some strong power, like a glimpse of some insane madness. Insane madness! W writing. You come back to your senses. When you turn back again, the door of Hella's cell is already broken. She collapses into the floor in agony.
Bastard. Bastard! I'll kill you as soon as I get the chance.
I'm sorry, Hella, you can beat me up later.
She can't.
S019 looks at you. The shadow next to her is now clear in your eyes. This is the real form of that horrible nightmare which can no longer terrify you.
Any sinners branded with the shackles are at your disposal.
That's such a heartless way to put it. As she speaks, she turns her gaze towards the other side of the corridor. The rioters are here. The commotion here draws their attention, and they are now shouting and rushing over.
give me orders.
Oh, oops. Sorry for skipping your voice line, Hekate. Clear them.
Copy that.
There'd be a battle sequence here, but I'm not playing the actual story. No, don't play it again. Stop. Hop off. Hop off. Hop off. Hop off. Whoa, it's some kind of chainsaw woman. Can I actually... Thank you. Only 2 more parts and we actually proceed to chapter 1. Whenever they unleash that strange power, the shackles in your hand will throb like some kind of frantic power is burning. Your vision gradually blurs and your consciousness returns to that dream again. In the dream, you are whispering to someone.
Come here, Hekate. This isn't over.
I always get jump scared when she hits a voice line.
We agreed.
It doesn't sound anything like how I imagined her to sound like at all. We agreed. Sounds like a dweeb, I'm sorry. After a brief silence, someone reaches out to you. That person wants to move closer to you with intense emotion. Oh my god, stop! Don't call Chief that! Stop! You try to take that hand, but the fractured dream pushes you away.
It's over.
It's over, isn't it?
Chief, are you hurt?
You shake your head, but your mind is still very confused. You don't know if those images happen in reality. Could they be the memories you lost? Have we met before?
No, we haven't.
Are you lying to me? But I know your name. Your name isn't S019. It's Hekate.
I don't need that name anymore.
I'm not calling you some fucking character bunch of numbers. You are a person, you get a name.
But if that's what you want, then call me by that name, Chief.
Don't worry, she gets an arc where she learns to see herself as a human being later on, I promise. And it was good.
Great. You did it. You regained your power. The most important thing is that you're alive.
I didn't expect you would survive either, Adjutant. How awesome. Let's end this riot together. I believe Chief can do it.
She puts on an innocent and harmless face, as if she never threatened you in her life.
Only 2 sinners left. Did the rest of them manage to escape?
Good for them.
Well, having you here is all that matters. Let's leave the rest to the guards and chase after the woman.
How awesome. The woman who forced you to wake up disguised herself as you.
This riot is just a diversion. This won't be her real agenda. We've got the coordinates, Chief.
I still don't fucking know what her agenda is. It's been 15 chapters and we've only seen her in one flashback. Where are you, Suspect R?
Watch out. The enemy is here.
The sound of liquid flowing comes from the surrounding walls and under the ground. You watch as several monsters taking shape. We watch several monsters slowly taking shape before your eyes.
This is a monster she created. Looks like we're very close to the target. Let's clear this.
There's gonna be some
first.
extremely awesome CGs soon.
But as long as you don't let it go near you, it won't pose any threat. Get ready to fight. I'll fight with you all.
Gotta hop off now. I gotta lock in for prep. Oh, good luck with your session prep.
This is...
Oh yeah, we skipped the battle sequence, lol.
The underground sinner experiment area. We've caught up.
Have a fun stream. Thanks for being here, Val. I'm glad you got to join for a little bit of it. she looks so much more badass. Like, the intruder stands operating quickly in front of a strange-looking pyramid in her face, still looking like yours.
Don't waste your bullets, Miss Nightingale. You know that won't affect me. Or perhaps are you so eager to shoot your own chief?
You're nothing but a counterfeit. Even if you could steal her bioinformation, you can't replicate her power. Surrender, sinner shapeshifter.
The shackles are quite tricky indeed, but there are still things I can do with this face.
Actually, now that I look at it, this background looks a little similar to something you see in a later event story. That's interesting. Another battle sequence skipped, lol. As she speaks, her hand presses on the operation panel to activate the system.
Identity confirmed. The chief of MBCC. Loading access. Permitting access.
Ow, ow, ow. So fucking awesome, man. The tip of the pyramid cracks. Ah!
What monster is this?
Don't do that! Can you wait? Why did you? Okay. Hecate, along with her nightmare, stands in front of you.
I'll come back to you once I finish what I need to do. Until then, I'll let my pet keep you entertained.
Okay, yay!
It's buying time again. But watch out. This enemy is different from the ones we faced. This monster is on a higher level. Chief, be on your guard.
Lol. Don't have to. Yay, last part of the prologue. Bum, 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 bum. Can I, thank you.
It's over. 019, 098, stay here to contain the monster and protect the chief. Leave the woman to me.
Why did you say it so gay?
Don't worry. Leave her to me. I will.
Bang! The ground suddenly cracks and monsters of different sizes swarm out, ignoring you. They're destroying the entire underground experiment area wantonly. One of them lifts up the intruder and returns to above the ground.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Glad you're still alive. I was worried it would hurt you.
I see. The riot and attacking the chief are just diversions. Your real aim is to destroy this place.
Real?
That's not true.
It's not
I was
true.
dying to see the chief, and truly hoped the poor sinners would be set free. I just didn't expect anyone would stay voluntarily and accept your restraints.
She looks at Hecate.
Why didn't you run away when you got the chance?
She needs years of therapy.
I don't need freedom.
Oh, Pookie.
Silly girl. This isn't what a sinner would say.
It's over now. You can't resist the chief's shackles no matter what ability you have.
Try me.
Why'd you say that so gay? The ground beneath your feet suddenly collapses. At the intruder's silent order, something wraps around you and shoots upward. The acceleration putting you in a daze momentarily. Chief! Hecate releases the shadow, only to be blocked by the stacks of monsters. You're now left alone with that intruder once again.
Well, what are you going to do to me, a sinner who dares to attack you?
Chief, use the shackles.
She don't got her hands. I thought you had to... Okay, I guess not. You grab the intruder's hand. The crimson pattern flows out of your hand once again to bind her body. The crimson pattern burns that disguise of hers, making her face blurred again.
So, this is what it's like to be bound by the shackles. You've awakened an incredible power indeed. What a pity. I can't be caught just yet.
She grips your hand and moves it away. The crimson shackles on her shatter at once. Ooh, awesome. That was awesome. Awesome. The blonde hair sways in the wind. The woman in front of you finally reveals her real face.
Do you remember me?
No. I don't know you. She smiles and cups her hands on your face. This is kind of beautiful. I'm saying.
Remember it now. We'll see each other again when it's all over.
Will we? Who are you? Gunshots sound. Several monsters fall off instantly, leaving a hole in the wall of white flesh, through which you see Nightingale with her gun aimed at you.
What exactly do you want?
The blonde woman laughs. You feel the grip on your body loosens, and then you fall into the flesh below and are quickly caught by Hikate. In the meantime, the defeated white monster suddenly stands up and flaps its wings, creating an overwhelming gust. In the midst of the smoke and dust, the woman slowly walks towards the creature.
The secret will be revealed one day, but not now.
When the gacha game ends service.
Look at your cities. Look at what monsters human sin is breeding. This is the final revelry you will enjoy.
In the end, she looks over at you and gives you that familiar smile again.
Go witness the end of this revelry. Whatever happens, don't look away. If you can do it.
She do be pretty. She is. She's very pretty.
I'll be waiting for you at the end with all the answers you have been looking for.
She's one of the many blonde women in Battle. Bye, suspects are... The white monster rises in a powerful current of air and breaks through the dome, disappearing into the night sky. Oh yeah, at the end of every chapter you get a cool little... You get a cool little video like this.
We are hot on the track of the fugitives at large. Your response was impeccable. Welcome back. Now, as the Commander-in-Chief of the FAC, I officially appoint you as the new Chief of the Minos Bureau of Crisis Control.
Wait, that's awesome. I know, right? It's very cool. The recap videos are awesome. I love watching videos. True.
I never expected to meet you again under these circumstances. From now on, you will likely face more insanity.
Oh shit, they call her Shepard from the first chapter?
But it is our duty to hold on to the light in the darkness and to salvage hope from despair.
Oh! Epic foreshadowing. Oh my god, so Shalom really is... Okay. Okay.
You to punish them. Only you.
Awesome.
Consciousness correction can no longer continue. We have no means to ensure the safety nor control the risks.
Yes, I did.
Are you sure you
I
want
did.
this individual to use?
Yes. We have no other choice but her.
So badass. Okay, now we get to the longer chapters. Yay, we're on chapter 1! Okay, now we're entering the Syndicate and the Syndicate arcs and the Salva arcs specifically. As the story progresses, you're kind of going to want to, like, just naturally side with the sinners over, I guess, the larger forces at hand in this city. It does portray them in a sympathetic light.
Syndicate control zone in the west, which sparked off major riots. There's been a surge in incidents and a rising death toll. The Public Security Bureau has confirmed the whereabouts of the mastermind behind the Bureau riot, Suspect R, in the Syndicate. And is willing to provide you with intelligence. But first they need MBCC to solve the crisis in Syndicate right now.
Easier said than done, bro.
This is an extremely dangerous classified mission, which requires you to lead a team of sinners to infiltrate the destination, contact the local security precinct, and arrest the target sinners to bring the situation under control.
Oh no, wait! I didn't mean to.
Syndicate.
Why isn't the Public Security Bureau stepping in? Okay, yeah, Syndicate's situation is kind of fucked up.
Get down.
The local security precinct, is that how you say that? Precinct. That has promised to support you is just ahead. Its grand gates have already been blasted down. Nearly 100 gangs are fighting right under its nose. As far as the eye can see, all the streets descend into chaos and madness. In the air is a mixture of the sounds of gunfire, maniacal laughter, and wailing, while the smell of blood and smoke permeates the streets.
That's right. Screw the Public Security Bureau. We don't need to give a damn when we fight.
She picks up a pipe and then sends a grenade flying high with a swing, which explodes into blazing fireworks and draws the attention of the rioters.
Phew! Ah, fresh air. What I'm most familiar with. Lackeys, welcome to Syndicate.
Wow, I'm so happy you're taking me to your hometown, sweetie.
The poorest and most chaotic area of the city. A gang haven and lawless place that has continuously spread violence and chaos to the entire city throughout these 20 years. And the control measures have never been effective.
You're saying that like it's all their fault.
Eventually, the city council was forced to sign the West District Order Management Regulations, which basically allowed the gang's autonomy outside the law to alleviate the many social concerns caused by Syndicate.
Yeah, basically it was too difficult for them to handle, so they were like, what fucking whatever, we won't interfere anymore. Just have your law of the jungle over there, I don't care anymore.
Bluntly put, the gangs are the real rulers of Syndicate. They make the rules, and the authorities have no say in it.
I don't know, it just makes the authorities sound like pussies. They are. Thanks for the input.
Let me translate. Where did this beautiful lady come from? Is she really our enemy? Do we have to kill her? What a shame.
This nonsense translation sparks off even more rage and anger. They come at you again with their weapons.
Uh-oh. They're getting excited. Chief, brace yourself. Your first show is about to begin.
Ugh, I love Ella. She's so fun. The sinner tilts her head and gives you a bright grin.
I'll try to keep you alive for a bit longer.
No, you want me dead so bad, and that's okay.
We won! It's been a long time since I had such a great fight.
The skips are really awkward without the battle sequences.
Hey, how come you didn't get hurt at all? What a shame. How did I protect you so well?
You look like you want to give me a good beating.
Look at your wimpy face! Are you that scared of me?
After all, she strangled you when you first met. Of course you keep your guard up.
Look at you being so nervous. You look so insecure as the chief. How pathetic.
I'm sorry.
I'm starting to like you now.
Oh my god, girl. That's not what she meant with this derisive look on her face. You ignore her and turn to the gangsters who got battered on the ground.
Monsters, go to hell! Go!
We need to be civilized and polite with our words and maintain the image of our syndicate.
Her voice acting is so good. Civilized and polite. She shoves her steel pipe into the gangster's mouth and shuts his foul mouth. Are the gangs coming for us?
The gangsters will fight anyone. You're just unlucky. Don't be so obsessed with yourself.
Yeah, I love how she says words too. She is perfect. She's perfect. She's lovely.
This is a place of the law of the jungle. Every summer, the gangs fight to the death to be the syndicate boss. Hundreds of passers-by get dragged into these idiots' fights and die for nothing. Be careful, ma'am. Don't get yourself killed in your first mission.
She wants me to die so bad.
It's your job to protect the chief. I'll deal with you if you fail to do so.
Hey, be nice. Hikate's still cold and stiff as always. She may follow your orders, but as someone whom you have no idea what's on her mind, she may be further away from you than you think.
Okay. I'm showing you the way
You're
now,
two
alright?
rabbit
Get your
dogs.
monsters away, you gloomy guy.
Yeah, Hella's like a small, really small, aggressive dog, and Hecate's like a bigger guard dog, like medium size. She's not a big dog. You'll see women who are big dogs later.
Strange. They should have had the final showdown a month ago. How come they are still so rowdy?
The Legion, girl. The thugs on the ground have been beaten to silence, but they're still writhing around, struggling and becoming more and more exhilarated that they even left bite marks on the steel pipes. I can't wait to see women who are big dogs. There are a few.
Chief, stand back.
One of them is the game's icon. I think there's a lot of women who are big dogs in this game. I can only think of like 4 off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are more I'm not recalling right now. More thugs are stumbling toward you from street corners with bloodshot eyes and distorted faces, seemingly unable to control their bodies. A distinctive figure appears in the mob. Oh, it's her. It was a young, thin girl with grey hair. She stares at you with hollow eyes, while a dark mist emanates from her body. The shackles in your hands suddenly begin to shake.
Now I remember that a group in Syndicate will be very interested in you.
Sinners. Your shackles are absolute sinners, which means you are their worst enemy. They will try to kill you any way they can.
The gray-haired girl raises her hand, and then the dark mist from her body spreads outward. Wherever the mist reaches, the thugs howl and furiously charge past her towards you.
It's mania.
I think Synex is on top of the women who are big dogs tier list, but I lack knowledge, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't think she's a dog. I think she's a lizard. That's a different type of beast. She's a woman who's a big lizard. I don't think she's a dog. Despite her she's a bit freaky. Woman who's lizard is crazy. Yeah, she's great. She's awesome. Wait, I think there's another woman who's a lizard. There's a woman who's a dragon, there's a woman who's a lizard. Yeah, her name's Synex. The woman who's a dragon is Etsy. She likes D&D. She physically puts you in her TTRPG world. That's her superpower. The deranged rioters charge at you, and more gangs are dragged into the mayhem.
They call it a classified operation? See? They already know! Catch that sinner! Find out who betrayed us!
No, protect the chief. The enemy is targeting.
Oh my god, she is a big lizard. See? Before the sentence was finished, the black beam jabs at you. You instinctively block it with your hand, but it is impossible to be blocked. Everything suddenly slows down. This moment, you lock eyes with the killer. Etty was my first S character and Cabernet showed up. Oh my god, Cabernet. Cabernet is a funny woman. Fake cannibal. Fake fraud cannibal. For a sentence was finished. I did read this. With sharp teeth for maximum chop. True, she does have sharp teeth. Those hollow eyes show no emotions, no bloodthirsty madness, nor the slightest confusion or hesitation. Only your death is reflected in them.
Chief.
The gray-haired girl tumbles down to the ground. The bullets miss the vital parts but leave several bloody holes on her lean body. Her face grows paler as she stumbles toward the dark alley. Catch her! Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. Chief, be nice. She's just a little girl.
Gangs ahead have been infected by her mania. It's too dangerous. Follow me.
Button up your shirt, whore. Gray-haired girl is so sweet. Yeah, they need to be nicer to her. Oh, him. Yeah. You turn into the dark alleys to escape the rider fights. The whole area descends into chaos and madness. The thugs are growing stronger while their minds break down one after another. Sounds of gunfire, lights reflecting from the swinging blades. They fly everywhere while the thugs are losing their minds to the desire of killing and destruction.
The big cheese from the east must have never seen this side.
You big cheese from the east?
The world's most prosperous
Bro called me big cheese.
megalopolis has been given the notorious name of the City of Sins. The crime rate is increasing, yet the authorities see no solution.
Honestly, I cheer for the fall of this city.
It's all because of this mania plague, which pollutes the minds, amplifies human evil.
Looking at the recent chapters, if this city as a civilization fell, I would not be sad. I'll be sad for the people living there, but not for the event of this city as a civilization falling. It's all because of this mania plague, yeah?
Those sinner monsters are the source of the mania.
No, no. They're a symptom, not the cause. Don't be a bitch.
Watch your mouth.
Yeah, kill him, Hella.
Who did you call a monster?
Kill him. Hella's pipe dents the rusted pipes in the alley. The man shoots Hella a cold glance while remaining indifferent.
It is precisely this evil power that comes from mania and spreads mania. They have turned Syndicate into a
We gotta
mess.
kill you, man. You're going too far.
Sorry, I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Ted, an informant and assistant for the local security precinct in Syndicate, and the one who knows about this operation. The Bureau sent me here to meet you.
Why should I believe you?
You're cautious, which is a good thing in Syndicate. Take this. It's from the Public Security Bureau. You've lost contact with your people for a while now, haven't you?
Never believe a guy called Ted true. Of course, he's an informant. Yeah, go Hella, pipe him! He takes out a headset and hands it to you. The headset starts ringing.
Chief, it's me.
Nightingale?
I'm a gangster in Syndicate, and a victim of the mania. I want to wipe out those monsters and restore
I'm gonna
order
kill you, bro.
in Syndicate. That is why I need you. I know MBCC has the power to wipe them out.
We gotta kill you. Hella, fuck that guy up. Beat him senseless, please. Chief is too much of a pile of twigs to do any damage. Wait, do I read I forgot in which order these are unlocked for you to read. I think both of these at the same time are. I'll read the branch first. After stepping out of the dark alley, the Public Security Bureau's right ahead indeed, but more thugs are also around.
We're outnumbered. It's difficult to protect the chief without cover here.
They're even rowdier now. Do we have no other support? Did the Public Security Bureau only send one jerk to meet
Lol.
you?
Can't get through?
Don't worry, MBCC will help you. Face 11 o'clock and advance 14 meters to
Oh,
find
that was a
support
protest
prepared
on.
for you.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
There are enemies nearby. They will spot us.
I forgot what this was for.
It's okay. Once you get there, the power there can help you break through.
Got it.
This is where you unlock like abilities to support sinners on the battlefield, I guess. It's everywhere. Fuck, it's fucking everywhere. Everywhere, those fucking sinners.
Hurry up, they'll break through soon.
Oh wait, is it KK? Does KK show up here?
Shut up! I'm trying to find it! Where's the armored car and rocket artillery? Where are the supports they promised? There's only a dumpster here!
I think the funniest thing about Path to Nowhere is the they censor all the cuss words in the earlier chapters, and then at some point they just like give up. Like they let her drop the F-bomb several times later on. Like they just give up. Like they still censor the text, but they stop. They let her say fuck later on. She furiously gives it a kick, and then a low grunt sounds from the dumpster, in which hides a tied-up woman dressed like a hooligan. Don't say that about her. She's so fashionable.
Anyone nowadays? What else have I done apart from delivering takeaways?
Literally, she's literally nice. Like actually.
Center S217KK. Use the shackles, Chief.
No, let her go run her scam business with her with her bisexual roommates. She says she didn't do anything wrong.
We'll check her background.
That's fucked up.
Syndicate. It won't be difficult for us to find something to justify the arrest.
Phew! What a timely support. Why didn't you contact us earlier? Then we wouldn't have to suffer so much.
Syndicate is in constant turmoil, so its communication network isn't secure. Forcing it might expose us.
Lol.
Besides, Chief has always been excellent on the field.
Always. This is my first mission. What are you talking about? But I believe the intel has been leaked.
It's still manageable. The Bureau is getting intelligence officers to spread decoys to divert those who are targeting you as soon as possible.
I can't believe you've done this.
The support mission has been completed.
Wow, that's fast.
Temporarily disabled until we identify the source of the leak and guarantee that intelligence is secure.
Okay, Nightingale.
Chief, the support may be limited, but the Bureau has always got your back.
Okay, yay. Let's finish this branch.
The gangsters ahead aren't on our side, so be careful.
Wait, actually, let me change the text to just the chapter, because I don't think I'm keeping track with which part of the chapter anymore. When Yuri moments happen, I should put on my... I have an alternative for this. Look, guys, you check this out. Ha 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 ha. The fact that Nightingale just said, yeah, shackle her, we'll just check if she's a criminal later, is crazy to me. I know, isn't that so fucked up? Eureka! Exactly. Exactly. That's it. I asked for an alternative with glasses just for the Yuri moments. No. Go back. Okay.
It's lucky that someone is causing trouble on the roof and drawing the attention of the enemies. Catch her! She's a sinner! She can be very useful!
I hope Nightingale has cool moments later, because I don't like her at this point in time. I can't say she improves as a person later on. Her like only sympathetic trait is that she cares about Chief, but she's kind of like she's like that. She is like that. You're too far away, can only make out what that she's an archer. Hi, EMP! She is a pretty strong fighting assistant against so many on her own. It's just that the figure drawing the bow looks somewhat familiar.
She's very outnumbered. She's not going to last long.
Save her!
Oh, hold on. Isn't that Emp? I remember her. She's the guy who got locked up nearby.
She's the guy who got locked up nearby.
You think you can trap me, the Archer Queen of Syndicate?
She's a nerd and a loser. And moe and funny.
That sassy bow drawing posture is too distinctive.
That stupid hat. Aren't you hella the loser?
No, you're the
here
loser.
just in time.
You're here just in time.
Are you in awe of my heroic posture? Let me reward you with a chance to fight alongside the Archer Queen of Syndicate.
She's so full of herself.
It's now or never. I can still treat you to a big bowl of Syndicate noodles when this is over.
That dumbass isn't gonna hold out
Oh,
any
it's
longer.
her.
She is a fugitive sinner, S107. Danger rating B. which is the same as Hela. Arrest difficulty low.
I'm not on the same rating as that dumbass. Hecate, where's your respect?
Wait, what's that one-eyed gloomy idiot doing here? And then, new chief? Hela, since when did you start working for the
Hela bragging about not being a loser as if EMP's core break won't send her back to her room. True.
And even working for the chief who got beaten up by me and hid behind people's back like a loser?
I've changed my mind. Arrest her now. She looks like she can be a good fighter. Besides, she treated you so well that only makes sense to pay it back, you petty bitch. Chief, you petty bitch.
Interesting. No one in the whole syndicate can take my arrows.
Lol. Her fierce arrow flies past the gangs and around her and shoots straight at the ground in front of you. The arc of electricity left by the arrow draws the attention of all the riders toward you. Oh, hi, Val.
Oh, isn't that Ted? He's got 2 sinners with him. What a treat.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Come on, I will beat you all up by myself.
Stop drawing them toward us, you jerk!
I surrender. Lord, surrender. Lord Hecate, stop.
Chief, do you want to continue?
This is a Path to Nowhere bum music. This is bum music. He jumps straight off the roof and falls face down before you with a thud. She might as well just wail with her arms around your legs.
The new chief of Minos Bureau of Crisis Control is so brave and awesome. I was wrong to underestimate you. Please forgive me, Chief.
So who was the one beating me up?
No one. No one. I wouldn't dare. My electricity can do nothing other than make someone numb. It certainly can't kill. Your teammates will be fine, Chief.
She's such a loser. She is. She gets more loser moments in a event that's not main story with Hela. They make her tag along with Hela for like a big chunk of the Night of Wonders event, and it's very funny. They're such a comedic duo.
We have no choice in Syndicate.
It's true. She's a girl failure.
But I'll repent of my ways.
I'll repent of my ways.
Wow, how embarrassing for the Archer Queen of Syndicate. So are you gonna work for the Bureau as a lapdog now?
Shut up. At least I've embraced freedom, but what about you? You couldn't even get out of your cage, am I right?
Shh. It wasn't her fault.
Shut up! Your Syndicate's disgrace!
Ugh, your Minos is trash.
If you will fight for me. Cut the crap and arrest her first.
No. I'm just a useless loser. I can't be of much help. Please stop. Hey, stop it! Stop it! At least don't
Stop
put me in the front row in a
it!
fight.
Why would I put an archer in the front row in a fight? I'm not stupid. Okay. Yay, time for Legion. Ted walks behind the hidden door in the Public Security Bureau and enters a string of keys on the electric door to open the intercom. EMP getting scared is like music to my ears. True.
You find saints in churches and drunks in hotels.
We walk with the 10 devils.
Whatever that means.
It's the code for the Public Security Bureau.
That's edgy.
All right. I know he's the informant now. Solve it quickly and get the hell out of here.
No response from the intercom. Ted enters it once again.
You can't stay here for long. That sinner just now will surely spread the message out. They will be here in
Okay. Sinner's accomplice?
It's a sinner organization. The Freedom and Syndicate has turned it into a shelter for the sinners. They came here to escape from the authorities. Many even formed their own forces, which is now difficult to break, and very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
The suspect R you're after is hiding out at the Salva Hospital on the west of the
No,
square.
she's not.
That's a well-known sinner force. Since even you are now being tracked down, it's likely that those sinners have joined forces with each other. The situation isn't in your favor. You must return to the Public Security Bureau as soon as
No,
possible,
no,
and make
no,
plans after sorting out the intel.
no. I want to see Iron. I want to see Anne. I want to see Zoya. No.
Chief, the ground is shaking. It's a heavy tank, and it's a fleet.
Ted's face suddenly turns pale, despised, receiving no response from the intercom. He can't afford to wait any longer, and yanks you to run toward the Public Security Bureau.
It's them!
Oh. Ooh. 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 The shock leaves you lightheaded. You hear the rumbling from the heavy tanks, gunfire and cannon fire, and the loud crash of concrete walls crumbling. This guy ugly as fuck. He is Zoya! Yeah! The dust dissipates. The building has been reduced to rubble. A tall figure appears above your head with feet on the collapsed wall, overlooking the streets. For a moment you find yourself locking eyes with a person. It's a sinner, a very powerful one. Certainly not someone you are strong enough to defeat now.
Come on.
No, let me see her, let me see her. No, let me see her. No. Hi, Zoya. Ted's shout pulls you back to reality. Snap back to reality. Hekate, holding your hand, is pulling you and running into the alley toward the intersection from which you came.
There are enemies ahead.
There are always enemies ahead.
Break through! Even at the cost of your sinners!
I hope I won't get alone with the truck at some point.
This is the last chance. It'll be too late if they completely surround.
It would be so fucked up if she aggressively pinned Chief to a wall with the intention to kill her. That would be crazy. That was such a good CG. Your body isn't used to such strenuous exercise yet, and the murky air in the sewers makes you exhausted. Yeah, crazy, huh?
I remember them. They're the Legion! The most impressive gang in Syndicate these recent years. All the gangs are scared of them. Was it their boss who made the Public Security Bureau with one blow? Wow! Don't tell me even she is targeting you. I remember she's called...
She is a monster.
Shut the fuck up. No one cares what you think, Ted.
Monster in Syndicate.
Shut the fuck up, Ted.
You can't fall into her hands. Nor can
Shut up, Ted. You think of the figure on the high-rise, which sends chills down your spine. Ted is analyzing something to himself as he mutters quickly and his face turns pale. Ew, a man's opinion. Oh, he's much worse than a man. Than just a man. The number of art ideas I wrote just because of this one truck chapter is crazy. I can't wait to get back to it. There were such moments. There's such moments. Moments.
Why is she here? Have we lost our cover? When? Damn it. If only they... No, they didn't go.
It's been 3 years since I read this story, hasn't it? It's been so long.
The decoy has worked. That's right. That's why they had to come to the Public Security Bureau to find intel, which had already been disposed of. That's right. There's still a way. We've still got
time.
Come back to the stronghold with me. My men are there watching Salva. They can fight too. And plus, you're sinners. We can win. It'll do if we attack Salva before the Legion does and get the target out. Go now. Hurry up.
Hold on. It's too risky. We must abort the operation if the Chief's safety is at risk.
Shut up.
Don't tell her to shut up.
Follow orders as a sinner.
I'm gonna fucking kill you, man.
I only follow the Chief's orders.
Yeah.
Chief, should we proceed with the operation?
Ted already getting 250 with that introduction. True. Hi, Wendy Crows. Sorry if Automod almost was like, no, you can't say that. Yes, you can say that. You can always slander Ted in my house. You may always slander Ted in my house. Always. Who added me on Discord? Oh. James Gam server. Hi. Hope your day's been nice. It's okay, I'm a beautiful and weak butterfly. This is the worst opening possible. There is a leak of your intelligence. Your support has been destroyed and you don't know who betrayed you and who's onto you. But...
Go witness the end of this revelry. Whatever happens, don't look away. If you can do it. I'll be waiting for you at the end with all the answers you have been looking for.
Liar.
Please tell me your decision.
Proceed. We must catch her.
The department only discovered the whereabouts of the fugitives and suspected him of being the suspect R. This intel could be wrong.
That's okay. You want to see her again and have many questions to ask her. Just allow yourself to take every small chance to catch her. Besides, the target will shift soon. This may be the last chance.
Got it. I'll protect you.
I'll protect you.
Let's go. There may be riots on the road to the stronghold at any time. I'll find you some camouflage, but prepare yourself to fight at any...
You nod and then look at Hella. She has been very quiet.
What are you looking at me for? Go on. You have decided now. I'm not gonna go against you, am I? But I'm just putting it out there. I hate gangsters. This jerk is definitely just using us. Don't trust him too much, dumbass.
She's right, Chief. Listen to her. Listen to her, Chief. You know it. You don't trust him completely. In fact, you have nothing to fully trust, including your memory. Yeah, that's fair enough, Chief.
We're almost there.
You carefully avoid the gangsters and the mayhem, but you can't actually get out of the battlefield. The rotten odor of burnt proteins, the frenetic gunfire and screams, and the bitterness in your mouth, all of these irritate you. Salva is getting closer. The closer you get, the more tragic the situation is.
The news of Salva hiding felony sinners has spread throughout the city. It's the last straw for the gangs, who have already decided to teach these jerks a lesson.
But now they're killing each other.
That's because mania has destroyed their sanity. Salva knows how to take advantage of mania, more than the girl who attacked you. Those devils didn't start the hospital to save lives.
They literally did. Stop making shit up. Stop pulling shit out of your ass. Tell me more. Ted doesn't reply and suddenly stops you and signals you to keep quiet. On the other side of the street, several men in white robes carrying a stretcher and doing something to the gangsters in the ground.
It's Salva. Be careful not to get caught.
Can you cover them up? What, his boobs? Most of the members of Salva have mechanical prostheses and wear white robes with a broken and upside down cross. An ambulance full of bullet holes is parked nearby.
Salva is saving the gangsters? They're too far away to hear what they're saying. Huh! They're fighting each other.
It's just a one-sided fight. A doctor-looking man slaps the injured gangster heavily, who then passes out and is put on a stretcher. He doesn't even have much to begin with. True.
That is my subordinate. I sent him to spy on.
I guess he wants his tattoos to show.
How much more torture he will suffer if he gets taken away. Wait, I've seen him before.
He looks as the leader of the Salva doctors.
I remember him. He was the one who took in the target sinner who escaped to Salva.
You mean we can get intel from him?
Are we gonna interrogate him?
As long as you guys can control that guy. Come on, Chief.
I don't like the look on your face, Ted. We were here, right? God, I need to keep track.
These doctors are quite strong.
And quite strong.
These people used to be gangsters in Syndicate, and were taken in by Salva and transformed into armed doctors. It'll be difficult to pry intelligence out of them.
Lara, are you okay? Get off me, you bastard! Lara!
Is she called Laura? Poor thing. She's on her deathbed now. If you can answer my question,
That's fucked up, man.
I'll let you save her.
Go to f***ing hell, you
Jeez.
Stop!
Where is the sinner you took in yesterday?
She's in the basement. Anne, the head nurse, sent her down there.
I have to know where if it was written by Bibsy Pop. Hey, the cussing is appropriately used. It's not like every other sentence. You would call a guy who shot your coworker a shithead, I think. I feel like that's a reasonable place to put a slur. Not slur. What? Slur? No. Swear. Fuck. What the hell? Why did I say slur?
Then?
I don't know. I'm not allowed to go down there. It's there.
Okay, I'm just here wishing for him to get his shit rocked. I'll be going to bed now. Have fun, Destination. Yay. Have a nice rest. Good night, Moshi.
What did the sinner have with her? Did she say anything?
Her? No, I don't know. I didn't get close to her. Really. No! Please! Don't shoot! I heard her saying things like inheritance. She's found something. Something about power. That's all I heard. I know nothing, but I've told you everything I've heard.
The inheritance.
I knew she had it. Did you notify the Legion of this? I know your medical director is friends with the Legion.
No, I don't know. The medical director, Iron, is away and hasn't returned yet, so we can't reach her.
Iron.
Very well. Did you hear that, Chief? It's this inheritance that can control mania and set off this crisis.
I thought it was Sinnerstead.
Even the Legion wants it. We have to get it as soon as possible, and must not let it fall into the hands of others.
No, please, Laura is still young. She's in so much pain, please.
Let go of the poor nurse. Okay.
She's lost too much blood. This is how.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I have good.
No.
Okay, good job. Good job, Hecate. Oh, I was so immersed, I forgot to read the narration. Dude, this guy, I hate him. Yeah, naturally. Hecate acted on your orders. You failed to stop the first shot, but you won't allow him to make the second shot. We got the intel. It's enough.
Chief, you are too kind. But Syndicate has no room for such kindness.
If you keep doing this, I'll run out of kindness real soon, Ted.
If he goes back and leaks intel about you, then Salva will not let you off easily. I know them. I know what Salva wants and what they want.
I'm sure you do, Ted.
I know it all. And it's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm sure. As he speaks, a grenade flies over from behind and blows up the Salva ambulance. Flames rise from the explosion, in which are several moving shadows. They suddenly dash out. I'm sorry, that was really funny. I'm sorry. And he has that stupid ass goatee. Squidward.
An ambush?
See, Chief, this is Salva. They collect these monsters on the battlefield.
No, Ted, you don't understand. No, I read the interrogation, Ted. You don't understand. You don't understand. It's justified. Well, it's not just. Well, I forgive her.
They are more powerful and dangerous than those pathetic maniac gangsters.
I forgive her.
This is what a maniac turns into. Being consumed by the overwhelming power. And completely transformed into a monster controlled by mania. Those in Salva are collecting corpses of the corruptors and carrying out shady experiments
I forgive
in the
them.
hospital basement to gain the power.
No, that's not why, but I forgive him.
The medical director, Iron, is crazy about developing various forbidden surgeries to distort the minds of the Syndicans with mania to brainwash them.
Whatever you
Salva's
say, Ted.
obsession with mania is an open secret among the Syndicate gangs. Since they worked with Suspect R to spark off this massive mania plague, they must be trying to obtain greater power.
You keep calling sinners monsters, culprits who spread mania. I'm a sinner too. Are you gonna explode if I bite you?
How annoying. I offered to work together not so that a sinner can give me attitude.
Shut your damn mouth.
Discipline her, Chief.
No, shut.
Stop her barking.
She can bark as much as you want, as she wants.
Otherwise, even your lapdog will be gotten rid of.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm no one's lapdog. None of us are.
Hella's infuriated and smashes her steel pipe at Ted, who shows no fear but only a murderous look. A chill runs down your spine as you recall the grenade that blew up the ambulance. His men are already here. Their guns must be aimed right at you and Hella.
Chief.
Let her bark! Hella, stop! Don't attack! The moment you speak, you feel a burn in your hands, while red beams shoot out of Hella's skin, branded with shackles like spikes. She wails and falls to her knees as if she is drained of all strength, looking at you in shock.
Is this power?
Oh, it hurts. This again. What did you do? What did you do to me this time, jerk?
I'm sorry you were gonna get yourself killed.
Sinners can never defy their master's order. Hella never tried to disobey the chief.
You can suppress sinners completely. This isn't any ordinary technology. What is it?
Don't worry about it.
Chief, I was wrong to say you can't keep your men disciplined. What a surprise you are.
Don't look at me like that. You're in a dangerous situation and can't afford to start a fight with him here. You have to leave first. You extend your hand to Hella. This chapter makes me angry for some reason. True. Sorry, but this is for your own good. She slaps your hand away and shoots you a glare filled with hatred before struggling to get up herself. I can't blame her.
I don't want to follow your orders. I'm not your lapdog. One day, I will kill you and break free. One day! Bastards. Go to hell. Go to hell, all of you.
I'm sorry, Hella. He uses the steel pipe as her support and hobbles away. No.
Please, follow me, Chief. My subordinates have come to meet you.
What about the Salva men? Didn't you say they would leak intel?
The Chief wants to spare his life, and I respect the Chief's wishes. Besides, he isn't able to do anything now.
Above the ruins, the only surviving doctor dips his knees in a pool of blood, making his last futile efforts to bandage the girl. She can only lie in her white robe soaked in blood, which stained the doctor's eyes. You can't hear what he's muttering. His stiff hands are constantly working, while he looks like he can be crying or laughing. Damn.
Boss Ted, everything's ready.
Good. This is the head of the Sinner Bureau. We'll be counting on her to take down Salva.
Chief? Welcome! And who are these two pretty gals behind you?
Shut up.
They are sinners.
The stronghold instantly fell into silence. All eyes in the place shot this way with hostility and fear.
Don't worry. They can't disobey the Chief's order. The Chief isn't anyone ordinary.
Really? Then aren't these monsters just like dogs on chains?
Shut up, bro.
They deserve this. Well done, Chief.
Hekate's apathetic, but Hella is clearly hurt. She glares back at them and at you. This isn't going well. You give Ted a look. He nods knowingly and follows you outside the stronghold to somewhere secluded.
Chief, my men are rough guys. I apologize if they've offended you.
Ever since seeing the controlling power of the shackles, Ted has become very respectful of you, but this doesn't make you happy. Get your men to treat them with respect. It's a top-down effect. Ted's humiliation of the sinners has encouraged the men to follow suit. Ted himself must stop this behavior in order to rectify the situation.
Chief, a few of my men had lost their minds, turned into monsters, and died in this riot. The rest of them don't know what they'll become tomorrow.
Bitch, the sinners have the same anxieties. What are you fucking on? My sinners didn't cause this.
I can put up with it for your sake, but I can't control what my men think. I don't have the shackles that you have. But why should you consider their feelings? They are just your tools, and you are their master.
We're gonna kill you.
Think about it. Your power, the shackles, is so strong that even those monsters have no choice.
Stop talking about them like that! Stop it!
You know
Shut.
I respect you.
Shut your mouth. Shut up. He gets more excited and heartfelt as he talks, but this doesn't make you happy. On the contrary, it even gives you a sense of suffocation. At this point, the sound of quarreling comes from inside the stronghold.
You're nothing but a dog, you monsters. One day I'll kill you dead.
Good job. No! Oh, whoops. Sorry, I got too immersed again. Hella forces the gangster down with her knees and punches him in the nose. Two other gangsters are lying next to her, eyes rolled back. Another gangster stabs her from behind. The girl's shirt rips, blood soon seeps out from her back. She tumbles but quietly holds her wobbling body up as she turns her fierce face around.
You want to join in too? Come on, let me take all of you! Huh?
Hella locks eyes with you, then she freezes for a brief moment before she soon returns to her fierce self, if not even more furious. She slaps away the hand you reach out to check her wounds.
Wow, you're disobeying the chief? That's it. Come on, use the shackles to teach you a hard lesson.
Hella stabbing. You take a deep breath. Hecate, who started it?
As soon as you left, these guys.
That's what I
started to
fucking
provoke
thought.
us. This man on the ground hit Hella with a stick first.
Yeah, Hella slimed them. She's as indifferent as always. Both you and Ted know Hecate would never lie to you. Looks like it's not our problem then, Ted.
Chief, you...
Yeah, I'm not heartless.
You rotten bastard! I knew you mother were up to no good with those rotten You are full of lies! If you don't discipline your dog, we will!
You smile at the agitated gangsters and help Hella up. This time, she doesn't slap your hand away, but accepts it, dumbfounded. Has the wound on your back recovered yet?
Soon. These kinds of thugs can hurt me.
Good. Want to take revenge? What? She's so excited. You all turn to the gangsters around you. Since conflicts will happen sooner or later and Ted won't discipline his men, you have no choice but to discipline his dogs for him.
Boss, help!
Ted remains silent and pulls out a gun with a stern face as he walks towards you. Then with a swing of his hand, his gun smashes the back of the head of his lackey, who then passes out straight away.
I'm ashamed of this, Chief. It won't happen again. I promise.
It's always good to quit while you're ahead. You stop Hella, who's enjoying herself, and turn to Ted. I take our cooperation very seriously. You're different from the gangsters, but these are just trivial problems compared to the very powerful enemy we both face. You guys need any power you can get. It's good to be honest before the final battle.
You're right, Chief. A fight like this is more direct than a verbal argument. I can see you already know to socialize with the syndicates. Now I know how important they are to you. I'm very surprised, but I'll get my men under control. I'm very grateful. I've come up with many plans to take down the Salva basement, but every one of them is extremely risky. But it doesn't matter now that you're with us. Together, we'll be able to take down Salva with minimal loss.
For sure. Now he knows this place. After seeing Ted off, you sit down against the wall and take a sip of water before you can finally relax. It wasn't necessary to go this far. In your position, you shouldn't have picked fights and shouldn't have taken unnecessary risks. Hi, Numa. You totally didn't forget. Well, if you want to catch up with anything you missed out on, because it's already been like 1 hour and 40 minutes, then I will be uploading this archive. I'll definitely be uploading it. So you could watch me read Path to Nowhere story from the beginning. Later on. I'll leave this archive up and upload it on YouTube. Yet the trouble caused by those guys was too serious. Hi, Hella.
Forgive him this easily?
I was like, oh, in an hour, this is 3 hours of the way. Many such cases, I do this a lot too. Blessed be, thank you. I don't actually believe him, it's just back scratching.
How impressive, Chief. You really have thought it through and managed to get Ted to do what you want. So Ted was right about they're important to you?
You almost choke on the water.
Huh? Was it just a bluff? Was it genuine? Did you help me because we're important to you?
It's a misunderstanding, of course. For your own safety, you can't let the sinners stay emotionally unstable for a long time. Who knows what she'll do when she gets furious.
Come on, Chief. Tell me.
Yes, I would kill thousands of people for you, apparently. Looking at Chief and Shattered Blade. Hella, Chief would do very, very reprehensible things to keep you safe. I hope you know. But the girl you've always been wary of is now blinking eagerly, waiting for your answer. This may be a chance to gain her trust. Yes, I care about you girls. Perhaps you see the shackles as a despicable bondage, but to me, it's our only real connection. I guess, yes, I care about you guys a lot.
Who are you trying to fool? You think I'll fall for this? Listen, one day I'll break free from your shackles. I want my liberty! Liberty! See ya!
She's so cute. Chief, you'll love them! Chief, love them! Chief loves them. Chief does love them. Right now, Chief is scared, but she will grow to love them like her children later. She shakes off her hand and turns back after skipping a few steps away.
Nevertheless, as a coward who only ever hides behind people, you deserve recognition for standing up for me. Before dumping you, I'll help you one more time. You should cherish this opportunity.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Hella.
Don't you need to take down whatever that crazy hospital is?
She gives you a smile, unlike the ones she gave you in the past. A gang of 30 or so people is besieging an old converted warehouse, on top of which hangs a broken upside-down cross, overlooking this unprecedentedly bloody battle. This is Salva. In the middle of a battlefield stands the hospital, and your target is in the basement underneath.
Seems like we got here too late. Are those gangsters attacking the hospital your men?
No, they're fighters from the Gonzalez family. Looks like they heard the news too. They've come to rob the place. But how are they so powerful? Could it be that?
These gangsters look odd. They've been severely infested by mania now.
Hetty!
Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! Salva is ours! It's ours!
They are so ugly.
Oh dear. You haven't even taken down Salva yet, and you're already fighting amongst yourselves. You gangsters will always be crappy. Chief, stand behind me. Let me show you how to teach them a lesson.
Oh. Branch.
I can't hold it any longer. Their brains are tougher than my pipe. How the can we defeat them? Hecate, come give me a hand.
It's too dangerous here. Chief, come this way.
Don't just leave me here.
She don't give a fuck. Hecate grabs your hand and pulls you into a dark alley. After coming across a dumpster, she tosses you in and closes the lid. A foul smell envelops you, almost knocking you out. Oh my god.
Stay here. Let us deal with the
By the way, I like your new avatar's cute. Thank you. I commissioned Anne to draw it. Look, I can go Yuri mode. Ha. To be slain by a corruptor or choked to death from garbage stench, the difference no longer matters to you. You instinctively reach out to push open the lid. The light shines through, illuminating a snow-white limb by your side. Lying next to you inside the dumpster is a beautiful young maid. Her fair, slender limbs are strewn with scars and her skin spotted with stains. The maid's eyes are wide open, lifeless and cold. You can't help but edge closer and observe the girl under the dim light. Her body has not yet decayed, nor did she have even a whiff of foul odor. The battle stains splattered across her face made her wide open eyes appear even sadder. You can't help but reach out to wipe the stains from her face. The minute you touch her, you hear a whirring sound, and her pupils light up.
Lowering contamination. Clearing contamination. Removing barrier. Retrieving the body. Reboot. Rebooting system. System reboot failed.
She's probably more cat.
System. Deleting memory. Work. Fight. Coffee.
What's happening? Is it a sinner reaction?
Protect. Mary. I'm sorry.
Poor thing. Poor thing.
Initialization is complete. Reboot successful. Hello, AI Made 3, Labyrinth, at your service. Would you like me to start cleaning, Master?
Sweetie, what happened? Are you okay?
Battle 1. Battle command to protect objects returned successfully. Hello.
Hi.
A robot.
Yes and no.
Sinners
The chat GPT made... There's a real human nerve system in her, but everything else is a robot, I think.
Human. There is a complete
There we go.
nervous system in my body. Is this considered human?
That's... yeah. The more you think about it, the more fucked up it sounds. What do you mean, only the nervous system?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I am curious. You and I are very similar. Are you waiting for commands too?
I'm not like you.
Are different.
Agreed. I can generate commands based on the situation. You don't have this autonomy.
Damn.
I am delighted. As a tool, I am more outstanding.
A screw pops out from this outstanding robot maid.
Oh no! This body is severely damaged. Find Prosthesis Repair Center. Apply. Master, can you pay to repair the body of your cutest
Of your
maid?
cutest maid? Halva. Better to wait until the battle is over and help her after returning to MBCC. The mechanical body can be repaired, but what about Labyrinth's memories? No way!
Searching database.
Do you remember Mary?
Completed. I only have the record of you, Master. Is it someone
Oh,
important to
poor
you?
thing.
Would you like me to find her for you?
No. No, no, no. Never mind, I don't know who she is either.
You look sad, Master.
I'm sorry, Labyrinth.
Coffee. Do you want any? It is a program I am proud of. It will surely make you happy.
Can she produce coffee, like, from her body? What? How does that work? You guys won, and but Ted's men are still beating up the defeated opponents with bloodshot eyes and fatal blows. Val! Big Girl Valentine on Twitch.tv. Watch your next words very carefully. You guys won, but Ted's men is still beating up. Yeah, I read this.
You dare to rob us? Die! Die! Die!
Damn, bro. No need to do all that.
Stop! I defeated them!
First subscriber to be banned on day one.
Get off! Where did they get their strength from? Can't even pull them away!
They are out of control and got mania. Did they get affected because they're near Salva?
Tell Ted's men to leave. It's dangerous.
No, we can't miss this chance.
Of course you throw your subordinates to a suicide mission.
When the woman comes back. My men may be infected with mania, but they
I thought you hated sinners.
power. See? They kill Gonzalez.
I thought you hated sinners. You...
What? If you care about your men, stop letting them take any more risks.
He doesn't, Hella.
I can't stop here after fighting for this long and losing so many men. This is my last chance. My men have become stronger, and they're still standing in the fight.
I'm gonna take a sip of water.
We are so close.
At this moment, Salva's tightly shut door finally opened. A group of armed doctors walked out with stern faces, or rather, with cold abhorrence.
Stupid gangsters. You dare to attack Salva? You must have lost your minds. Dr. Iron will treat you guys. Let's sterilize before she comes back. Ugh. If it weren't for these sinners. Ted, how dare you let your men get infected with mania? Do you have any idea what the consequences are?
Who are you to talk when you've defected to a sinner? I'm tired of you guys having your way. I'll do anything to get those monsters out and bring the old syndicate back.
Rolling my eyes.
Let's go, Chief. Let's go find that R.
How dare you say that?
He suddenly struggles and grabs your ankle. You can't break free of the cold, solid processes.
Brand and Laura, our field team, never came back after they went out for a rescue. What happened?
Please, Laura is still young. She is in so much pain. Please.
I'm sorry, man.
Dr. Brand went to save lives. The lives of you all who are besieging Salva and killing each other. The man always carries out surgery with precise timing, yet he didn't come back on time. What did you do to him?
Ted kicks him off and pulls you to one side.
What are you zoning out for? They're our enemy, Chief. Don't forget which side you're on.
Chief, this is your chance to fucking shoot this guy in the head.
Chief, behind you.
Chief. You turn around sharply from the direction you came. A wobbly figure came out of the smoke. You recognize that face and blood-stained white robe. Okay, he's fine. I'm glad he's fine.
Dr. Brand! You're alive!
Bitch? Ted aims his gun once again at the man who had managed to survive. Stop, Ted! Stop it! His gun is too swift. The bullet shoots into the air. When it is less than half a meter away from Brand, a dark jet of smoke bounces it off.
It's mania. This is very strong power on a completely different level.
How strong? Is he a sinner? No, he isn't. But he's completely different from those manic gangsters. The dark smoke around him seems to be at his order. More importantly, the dark smoke around him seemed to be at... Okay. Something is driving him to action. Why'd they repeat the same line twice? Yeah. Okay.
Gray, Han, and Lara. Don't cry, Lara.
Oh, bro, lost it. Sorry, man.
This can't be Brand. Are you also?
What? Stop him! Don't let him get close!
Kill him! Kill him! I'll do it! Let me do it!
Are you guys out of your mind? Don't go!
He's gonna turn into a corruptor. Yeah. It happens like a flash, like an ear-piercing roar. Black spikes shoot out of Brand's body, then immediately twist and blend with his flesh. The next second his body is like being half reshaped by his uncontrolled fury and turns into a real monster.
Dr. Brand!
What is this? Is this really the guy from earlier?
You should know what a corruptor is, Hella.
Not anymore. It's a corruptor now. A stronger corruptor. Hella, protect the chief.
Let those who hurt you guys go to hell!
Bum 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 bum.
I never thought we would have to face a monster like this. All thanks to that Ted. He's hiding away so well. Is he this scared of having revenge taken on him?
He has a pussy.
This is it. The armed doctors are all defeated. No one will get in our way now. Chief, let's get in.
Hold on. You get a little closer and take one last look at Brand falling to the ground. Its pupils are gradually glazed, but he's still muttering.
I'll save you guys. I will.
For a split second, he exudes a scent similar to Sinner's. Holy shit, he looks insane! He's gone mad. He's gone crazy. Yeah, that is what mania does to people if it goes past a specific threshold in the Pathadora universe. If you get unstable enough, you just turn into one of these things and you can't really go back. It takes over your mind. You just kill everything around you. Sinners are like lucky people who had that infection past that threshold, but they didn't turn into a corruptor. I guess they have like higher thresholds that they'd reach before they turn into a corruptor, but in exchange, if they do turn into a corruptor, it's much, much more dangerous than if the average person does. Thus, the shackles exists. It keeps that mania in check, I guess. A metal tube as long as your finger rolls toward you guys and gradually comes to a halt. The holes on the two ends begin to jet out some strange gas.
What's this? Don't breathe it in, Chief!
Can't wait to have more shackle lore, actually. Yeah, like, we know that they've been trying to produce people like Chief, besides Chief. Wait, actually, no, I should stop talking. Spoilers. I need to stop spoiling. She lunges at you with a pale face, but before she reaches you, a powerful force yanks her away. Then her voice suddenly halts. You try to reach out, but find that your hand isn't raised as high as you want. Your vision starts to blur and then suddenly drops. You want to shout, but your mouth can't do it, as if your mind has been separated from the rest of your body. The blurred and shaky vision is the last thing you cling to. Hi, Iron! Hi, Anne!
Brand. Sweet dreams. And welcome to Salva, Chief Lapdog.
Yay! Hello, Hecate?
Finally responding. EEG is very active.
Good. Number 18 reduced to the frequency of 0.7. Write it down. Stable structure, memory damaged, no abnormalities.
Where am I?
A bit of noise, increased suppression. How's the M value doing? Any danger? No fluctuation. You sure the measurement is accurate? That's impossible. She's been in contact with so many maniacs. How are the two sinners doing?
What have you done to them?
Increased suppression. I see. So them as well. Still very stable even after such a big fuss?
The Bureau's technology? Or is it this guy?
And this guy.
I need to look into it then. I have a feeling that she's very crucial. With her, see any change.
The shabby and chaotic space is filled with dust and a foul smell of disinfectant mixed with blood. The noises and cries from people seem to be separated by a layer, hysterical yet somewhat distant. You try to feel your body, no pain and no restraints. You are relieved that nothing has been done to you. Those looking at you from above have already gone. Hela and Hecate aren't here, but you can sense that they are nearby. Yeah, go look for them, Chief. You try to stand up, but just as you tilt your head, you see... It's her! Long gray hair, pale face, and blood-soaked bandages wrapped around bullet holes. You recognize her. You'll never forget this lifeless face. You suddenly recall the memory of your life being threatened, which makes you break out in a cold sweat. It's the person who wants to kill you. She turns and stares at you. That's chapter 1, baby! Has it been 2 hours? Should I stop here? No, it's only... It has been 2 hours. I don't know. I could go for another hour. You have to go to sleep? Well, yeah, that's fair. I did say I was gonna try to make it. My stream is 2 hours each. Well, I guess I'll schedule another one then. I'm going to send fan... Yay! What's my fan art tag? I don't have a fan art... I don't have a fan art tag. You're gonna have to just at me. I used to, when I first, like, came up with the concept for S, I used to have it be, like, illustration. Instead of... But now it's just my Tumblr art tag. It's not my fan art tag. You're gonna have to just at me. Awesome. Thank you so much, Trash. I appreciate it. Thank you. I will eat it. Yeah, I guess I'll end here then. We finished the prologue in chapter 1. That's good. We did good. Actually, these are fairly short compared to the later chapters, huh? felt so much shorter than I expected them to be. Ooh. Yeah, it is 9 p.m. here. I should end it. Thanks for coming, everyone. Can you pull for Hi, Anna! Can I pull for Jasmine? Can I pull for Jasmine? Actually, I'll do my dailies on stream before I... Whoops. I kind of want to pull for her, because she's purple. I like purple. She's so purple. I do kind of want to read her interrogation. I'll do one single temple. Just for you, Anna. Even though I'm not that fond of her design. But I like her as a character still. Oh, well, I guess no. Nothing. Okay. Yay. I guess nothing. Alright, sorry I had to mute for a second. I'll go to the waiting screen now. Thanks for watching.
Shadows stretching in the dark.